Oh,
We are live, Alan, and welcome to UFL Fan Den live show with my very special guest, Alan Alford of the Alan Alford Sports Talk Show, also an author. Welcome, Alan.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Kurt. This is really fantastic to be on the UFL Fan Den. This is awesome. This is
I
fantastic.
love it. The last time we talked and had a conversation about the league, we were talking. There was so much speculation. Nobody knew how many teams there were going to be. Nobody knew, what the league name was going to be. Now, what we do know, we know the league name, UFL, United Football League. We know the ownership. We know there's an XFL conference. We know there's a USFL conference. And there's a lot we know now, but there's still a lot of things that we don't know. Like we have the schedule coming up. We have the rule book. I guess they're going to change the rules a little bit. I'm not sure what they're changing, but I heard something, Alan, a little bit about the rules being changed a little bit, but I'm not quite sure on that. Maybe you heard something.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Some of those same concerns I did notice the fans have, particularly the schedule. I think people want to know what the schedule looked like. They haven't announced the rules yet as to which way they're going to go. I'm, kind of biased. I kind of hope they keep it with the XFL rules. I think they're just very dynamic, and especially the kickoff. But those things are to be determined as to what they're officially going to do.
Yeah, that's what, and it is. I mean, the schedule, especially people want to buy tickets and, want to know where they're going to be, how, the tickets, the seating, all arrangements, all that at the games and stuff. So, yeah, we're waiting for that. And it's all like I said. What we do know is we know some of the players. We know some of our guys that we liked, Quentin Normandy and Cody Latimer. I think them guys are playing. Both of them are playing for San Antonio Brahmas, aren't they?
They are. Devin Darrington, too,
Yep.
outstanding running back, graduated
Yep.
from Harvard University. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple times, but yeah, it's really cool that you get a chance to see some of the guys who really balled out get a chance to play in this league. That's fantastic for them, but it's one of the realities that football is a business, and some of the guys I got to cover are going to be playing, as you mentioned, for the Brahmas. So props to Quentin Dormady, Cody Latimer, and also definitely Devin Darrington. That's three so far. And also can't forget Savion Patton too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
outstanding. Yes.
Yep. And
Yep.
Jalen McClendon of the Vegas Vipers, he's playing for. Well, as we're speaking, as we talk right now, he's playing for the DC Defenders. So Jalen McClendon. I know DC's pretty stacked. They have a good team. The St. Louis Battlehawks. They got Borgie there, running back. Borgie. I think they're going to be good. I think St. Louis Battlehawks are still waiting for AJ McCarron, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. But it's just like with DC Defenders, they think Jordan Teamo is going to come back, but I really doubt it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, those are the things that you're kind of hoping to see a little bit more transparency in who's coming and who's not, just so you kind of get a makeup of how the league is going to look. But Jordan Chiamo, I mean, that guy is phenomenal. And, I had the pleasure of being at the XFL championship game for people who don't know. And Jordan was there. Got a chance to meet him, and he got a nice award for having such a stellar season. But he's an outstanding quarterback, and I really do hope we see him at some place, whether it's the UFL or someplace on the field, because he's a remarkable talent.
I know. What's your thoughts on Louis Perez and the Arlington Renegades?
Man, I gotta say, the Arlington Renegades was a team that I had got a chance to cover like towards the end of the season. And Louis Perez's story was just phenomenal. I mean, just to play for a team, this is why you should never give up in sports. He was on the Vegas Vipers, then transfers over, gets traded over to the Arlington Renegades, kind of stumbled a little bit in the beginning, but found his stride and just got into a hot season and end up being, the MVP, and end up holding up the trophy at the end of the year, the Arlington Renegades. It is just a fantastic story. I got to give props to Steve Spurrier's son. He put a tweet up of him getting a tattoo of the banner of the XFL banner
Yeah,
championship,
yeah, I seen that. That's pretty cool.
and he liked my comment. For I said, hey, I was on the field, I was there. That was just a phenomenal experience covering the XFL championship game. I'm really hopeful that I get to cover the UFL because it's not for sure. I just want the listening audience to know that it's not for sure I'm going to cover the UFL. I'll get into that a bit later with you, I'm sure, Kurt. But that experience of covering the championship game, that's why spring football needs to stick around.
Yeah, and it's a lot of these players there's a lot of NFL players a few coming over sneaking, but I wish I could hear more from the league, on certain things. I'm hearing, it's a lot of things on social media sites and stuff, you hear things from James Larson and, some of these insiders. But I mean, I wish the league would come out and talk about it a little bit more, what's going on, so all of us would know, we wouldn't be in the dark so much. But hopefully in the future that'll happen. But it's history making. It's two spring leagues, premier spring leagues together under one roof, under one umbrella. I don't think it's ever happened before that I know of in my lifetime. And so it's history making. I like the name United. It's both leagues united under one league here, and I like that. And you got the XFL division and the USFL division, where almost harks back to the NFL with the AFC and the NFC when they got together. Of course, they had Joe Namath come in for the AFC for the New York Jets back in the in the day, and they don't have no Joe Namath coming through. But there is a lot of good quarterbacks. Each team's probably got three, I think, except for DC's Defenders. Don't they just have two, or did they pick up another one?
Well, I know they have two. I'm not sure about the third one. I haven't heard that. That's one of the things. Like it's with the player movement, it's a little difficult now to see how things are playing out on each team because they expanded the draft a bit. So I kind of got a little bit confused. And just like yourself, I am not as up to date as to the moves, some of the moves that the USFL, UFL are making because they've been kind of quiet even to the media. So,
Yeah,
it's been like that. Like, and in defense, this was kind of how it was when the year started with the XFL. They were very, very quiet as to what they were doing, their moves, and then they kind of peeled back a little bit at a time. They let you know a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And as the season progressed, they opened up more and more to the media to let you know more transparency of what's going on. So it's not something new, but it is a little disappointing. Like, hey, I want to support the league. Let me know what's going on.
yeah, especially the players. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
mean, it goes back to XFL 2020 2.0, where they had Fox and stuff. So the networks we know, is Fox and ABC and the ESPN. So we know that network, they're going to have plenty of exposure. So, a lot of people are going to be watching. I mean, a lot of people that I know of weren't watching last year because they weren't on them, like Fox and ABC, the channels they were in 2.0. But I hear a lot of people are going to be watching just because of the Fox relationship with
Yeah.
the XFL. And, I love the name UFL. I think it's a good name. The Rock there, he was announcing it on Fox Sports NFL today there when he announced it. That was pretty cool. So, but I think they got to do more of that. Get the coaches there on ESPN. I like the coaches roundtable that they had last
Yep.
year.
That's right.
That was cool, And then we had this thing with the Houston Roughnecks and the Houston Gamblers was kind of confusing too, because
Mm-hmm.
they are the Houston Gamblers, but they also are the Houston Roughnecks. They have the uniforms they have, but they are the Houston Gamblers basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. They kept the Houston Roughnecks name and logo, but to your point, they are keeping the gamblers. So and I'm glad they did it that way at least because of the fact
Yeah,
that I felt as if the Roughnecks, the team deserved to stick around. And the reason why I say that is because the player 54 was based around the Houston Roughnecks, and I felt as if the fan support, and that's what I encourage is for fans, whether your team got dismissed in this merger or not, if you want spring football to last, then you got to support this league. You got to watch, you got to buy, you got to support. From somebody who covered the Guardians, who my team is, one of the teams unfortunately is not did not survive the merger. If you really love football and you love these men getting these opportunities, you got to support. I know it's disappointment for some of the fans who lost teams both on the USFL side and the XFL side, but man, you never know. Just because your current situation is like this, where the team's leaving, as this league grows, they probably come back. So you got to support, support, support. I definitely encourage everybody to watch, as you mentioned, Fox on the other networks and support the UFL.
yeah. Like New York State up here, I don't have a team really. I'm gonna, kind of follow the Arlington Renegades a little bit. Like with you, the Orlando Guardians, I even like the Orlando Guardians, man. I just think they had some rough calls. They had at the end, now if they had like say 13 or 14 games instead of a 10-game season, 10-week season, I think they would have came on late, you know what I mean, and would have did really good. And I'm excited to see Quentin Normandy, how he's going to start out, and he's got Cody Latimer, how they start out with a really good team. They got a good offensive line, and so look out for them guys. I would, kind of watch out for the San Antonio Brahmas there. That somebody got Boogie Roberts. Was that DC or was that?
I'll double check it. I'm not really sure, but I will say you're right. To your point, the San Antonio Brahmas, man, they are a phenomenal. I love what they're doing because they got some great players there, and then you have the
Yeah,
familiarity with Quentin Dormady. He's going to have Devin Darrington. He's going to have Cody out there, outstanding tight end Cody Latimer, and he has Savion Patton. So
it's
that already
looking,
is a great start. It's looking great. And the San Antonio Brahmas, let me just say, their fans are phenomenal. They really
yeah,
support. I did notice that because I actually went to San Antonio for the first time, and that was to cover the XFL championship game. And just seeing the fans, and it was just really cool to see San Antonio and the way they support. So props to the San Antonio Brahmas and the fans. So yeah, you got to support spring football because just seeing that story, to your point, the Guardians could have actually done what the Arlington Renegades ended up doing. They were losing and they still were not mathematically eliminated. If they would have just won their last few games, made it to the
yeah.
playoffs, they could have actually done what the Arlington Renegades, and even you know, Coach Buckley even said that. And it's true. I covered the league. You could have done that, but it wasn't meant to be. The better team got it, and that's the Arlington Renegades. Take nothing away from them. And Luis Perez, man, that is a fantastic story.
Yeah, isn't it though? I mean, I
Yeah.
cannot believe that guy. He was all over the place. I watched him with the New York Guardians, the Jousters. I mean, the Vegas Vipers. He's been all over the place. The Arlington Renegades, they weren't that good last year in the beginning of the season and going on through until they got towards, the end of the season. They won the really games they needed to win to get them in there. And they got in
Yeah.
the playoffs at what, 4-6? I think they got in there at 4-6,
Yeah.
and they got, and even San Antonio though, they almost got in there. They just had, they were 3 and something, and they had to win that last game. They just could not get that last game. But
Yeah. You're
but
exactly
I
right.
was
I mean, that's what it's about. And I know the St. Louis Battlehawks fans were upset because
wow,
they
man,
had
yeah,
a stellar record throughout the season and they didn't make it. but this is what it is. This is how it is, even in the NFL. Like, just because you have a very good, regular season, doesn't mean you're going to make it to the postseason. You have to win the games that matter the most,
Yeah,
and that's what football is all about. You got to win the
yeah,
games that matter the most.
yeah. And I think they did when you have all the teams, we had 16 teams. It condensed it down to 8 teams. So you got all these players condensed in this smaller, league. So there's going to be a lot of talent there. There is a lot of talent that is condensed down. I think we're going to see a lot of players that we don't know are there, but they're there. We're going to see them. And as far as the St. Louis Battlehawks go, man, I bet you last time I heard they were selling tickets for the upper
Yeah,
deck, the upper seats up there. So you're talking maybe 55, 60,000, maybe up
yeah,
if they go up in the higher upper deck their seats. So I mean, and it's like you were saying, San Antonio, they got a good fan base, and with these Wade Phillips, which that is just confusing thing. It took me a few weeks to get used to that. Wade Phillips going from the Houston Roughnecks to the San Antonio Brahmas and his coaching staff, and he actually brought, I think, 8 to 10 players from the Roughnecks over to the Brahmas. So he's got a lot of the players that he had from last year over there, plus some new players coming in. And then I heard Kenji Bahar for now that they're the Houston Roughnecks. He is not playing. I think he left and is gonna. Reed Sennett is going to now be the quarterback as we are speaking right now. But I don't. That could change in the last minute, though. So until we get into, excuse me, Ellen, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Until we get into the training camp, and stuff like that, so we start whittling down the players and getting to the final roster, we won't know who really actually is playing until we get down to that point. And training camp is February 24th, so
Yeah,
it's
you're
coming.
absolutely right. It's
I
coming
can't
up
wait.
quick.
Yeah, I can't wait to see some of the players, and see who's in there and how, some of the plays. I think would be a good thing for this new league for them to do is to have a couple of preseason games, Like I know the NFL has preseason games, and I know they probably couldn't. It probably would, have some fan engagement things where they could have a couple preseason games before the season started because they got to go all the way to March 30th. So before the opening day, so just get maybe even 2, 3 preseason games then would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if the reason why the league, the UFL, has been kind of quiet is because of a conflict with the NFL, with them getting into closer to Super Bowl. But yeah, it would be great to get a little bit more knowledge as to where people can go to support, so they can start marking in the calendars now to
Yeah,
kind of get ready to
yeah, that's what
go.
I'm saying. But I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
I love what they did so far. I hear that The Rock is going to be. I don't know if it's true. He's been flirting with WrestleMania and this Ruben Reigns thing. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, if he's going to actually wrestle. I guess he secured his trademark for his name, The Rock, on
yeah,
ESPN. Yeah, so he secured that. Now he owns it. And now I guess, so you gain money from that. There's a lot of other things. I guess he's got a couple movies in the works. So, I know he did. There's a new movie that's out right now called Mona or something. And get this, Alan, he's actually doing a movie. I don't know how true it is, but this is what I read. I don't know how credible the information I got, but he's doing a movie called Popeye the Sailor Man, which is the old comic book. So hopefully, that'll add income into the league, maybe, and notoriety. A lot of people are going to be watching because of him and a lot of his movies, I think. But there was a lot of speculation back then when me and I first talked. There was speculation about, who owns the league. So we know the ownership and everything. We know it's, Danny Garcia and Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Redbird Capital. We know, Russ Brandon. I know Daryl Johnson's in there, but he's been quite quiet uh, with the all this. I think he has more of an XFL flavor to it, more of an XFL thing, the way they have done it. I like it though. They're both together, but it's got an XFL flavor to it. I kind of like that way. But I think when opening day with the Arlington Renegades and the Birmingham Stallions, I think that's going to be a pretty big game. It's going to be a pretty big game. Hopefully, there'll be a lot more fans there. I think there will be because you have the Battlehawks fan groups, you have the San Antonio Brahmas, you got the Birmingham Stallions. Birmingham Stallions have picked up a lot more players too. I know what was the quarterback for the Birmingham Stallions? I can't think of his name right now, Alan. I know it's oh my gosh, I cannot think of his name right now, but he was really good. Oh my gosh, that's awful. I can't believe it escaped me like
That's all
that.
right. Who do you think wins between the Birmingham Stallions and the Arlington Renegades? I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Who wins that?
I don't see too many changes with the Arlington Renegades. They haven't got too many new people unless they pick up some more guys here before the opening day. But I do see a lot. They're stacked. Birmingham Stallions are really stacked. They got Bo Scarborough back. Uh, just to mention him, just to mention just one him. But they have 5 to 10, 12, 13 guys that they have picked up. The Arlington Renegades have picked up some people, and they escape me the names right now, but I still think they got basically the players they won the championship with, plus a few other good ones. So I think it's going to be a really tough game, but I still think, and you know what, I could be wrong about Arlington winning it because they start awful slow. Last year, they started so slow. I thought they were going to be a losing team, and they won the championship. So they might start slow, lose that game, and win everyone after that. I don't know, but I think it's going to be tough. It's by 1 point, I would think one or maybe a field goal, but either way, could go either way. I think.
Yeah, at least that is whoever came up with that idea was, kudos to them to have the two
Yeah.
champions start the season. That's from the USFL and the XFL side. That was something that wasn't expected, and that was a great opportunity. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that game starts off and how it goes. But you're absolutely right. I didn't really cover much of the USFL because I was so busy covering the XFL. There was a lot to do there.
I know
But
you've been busy, man.
yeah, and the toughest game, the reason why I bring it up, because the toughest game that I would have to say that I covered was when I covered the Orlando Guardians and they had lost to the Arlington Renegades right after they won against the DC Defenders, because that pretty much that eliminated their season right there. So I knew that I was going to probably go to the championship game. I knew that the Orlando Guardians were not going to represent at that point there. And so the season's not over until it's officially over. Till then, you keep playing.
Yep. You don't play till the fat lady sings, I guess. And that
That's
is the
right.
old saying. But you don't quit till the fat lady sings. So, but yeah, and I like them. I think they're all stacked. I think they're all gonna. The competition's gonna be really, really good this year. So better than
Yeah,
usual. Better than
yeah,
usual. So
absolutely. Because even covering the XFL, there was a wide array of talent. The amount of talent was just really remarkable. And now that you eliminated, as you mentioned, down from 16 to 8, the competitiveness, the level of talent is going to be even higher and better. That's just going to show you how elite these players are going to be.
yep. And salaries, they've worked out the salaries is a little bit better, and the pay structure is a little bit better than it was last year, so that's looking good. I think players are looking for a little bit more security too when they come over, from the NFL or these other leagues, and any little incentive to stay here. But I think it's going to be like we were talking about, having the Fox and the networks behind them is going to make all the difference in the world. Exposure, a lot more, exposure to the league. But I think what's happening too, they're being quiet right now a little bit. The ownership of the XFL or UFL, and I think they're being quiet. But I think they're gonna, once they start letting some information out, it's gonna be hit. It's gonna hit big time. You're gonna have a lot of information, one thing right after another. Like we were saying, you got the schedule release, you got the rule book, which I hope they don't change too much of it, like you said. I hope they keep it basically the same. I thought I heard something about them changing something to do with the shootout a little bit, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Um, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I want to do this every week with you. Every Friday, I want you to be my co-host. When I create the next live stream, I'll make sure you're my co-host and make sure we get in here. I, I'm just getting used to this stuff. Like I said, I don't know how that error occurred, so that's kind of weird earlier. But I'm checking on it. I'll make sure that stuff don't happen again. But it's weird with me too because I'm in 3 different communities. I have my music channel, and I have my paranormal channel that I do, and I do my UFL fandom, you know, uh, channel. But I don't want to be. It was just like when I did music. When I did music, I didn't want to be pegged down. Somebody said you can't do a gospel song. I did a gospel song. It's weird. But so I think that's what it is with creators, and I really thank a lot of these creators like yourself and a lot of the creators that come on. Brandon Anderson, Mark Perry, the Marquez, Reed Johnson. All these guys put a lot of time in, their episodes and shows to publicize and talk about the XFL, and I give them a lot of credit. I'm trying. I can't do that many episodes, Alan, but I try. I do this, but now
Yeah.
I will every Friday, Alan. It's going to be every Friday with you. So I want
Yeah.
you to be my co-host. If you will do it, I appreciate it. And I'm so glad to be on here. I'm really irritated with this error I got. I can't understand why I got it, but
Don't worry about it. That's sometimes what happens. Technology, live TV, and it happens. So don't let it bog you down. But
I
I
know
would be honored to do that with you Fridays.
I would I would
That's
love it.
fantastic.
I would love it, Alan.
Yeah.
I got some videos to show a little bit if you want to watch them. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to give it a shot. But this is
Okay.
our, if you remember, this is our first episode, one of our first episodes that we did
Yeah.
together.
So we're gonna talk some XFL. How you been?
I've been good, buddy.
That's good to hear. Always
Remember
good to
that
see
one,
you.
Alan?
Thank you for
Oh
joining
yeah, I
us
can't
again
forget.
on
That's
the Alan
right.
Myron Sports Radio Show.
I've
It
been
was
watching
good though.
every
I'm
XFL
kind of
game.
weird, ain't I? Am I eccentric or what's
This
going on,
weekend is
Alan, with that?
week 10, and I've been watching Orlando, man,
Yeah.
and Vipers, and I'm not happy with them. But
Remember
it's
the
not all
Vipers,
their
man?
fault.
We
I
talked
think
about the
Yeah.
Vipers.
the
I'll show you
refs have
some
a
of
little
those
bit to play
collectibles.
Yeah.
into that.
Definitely
But
rest in peace to the
they're
Vipers and the
good
Orlando
teams. I can't
Guardians.
get it. You know what I mean?
I hope they
No,
come
you're
back.
absolutely right. So, what do you think was the Vipers and the Guardians' biggest downfall this season?
I think they had too many penalties, too many things on their self.
We were
They,
talking about the penalties things
on
back then,
themselves.
even,
Some of
Alan.
the coaching, I love Rod Woodson. He's a Hall of Famer and everything. But
No more Rod
I think
Woodson,
some of these
Alan.
NFL coaches, they're
Wow.
not with the
Yeah, this
rule.
brings back memories.
They'll
You're
get it
right.
next year because now they know how it's
I
going.
know,
You
and
know
it
what I
doesn't
mean?
seem like
I've
all
noticed
this
Orlando
time
getting
has
better
gone
and
by, and
Vipers.
so many
But
changes.
I've been watching the USFL too. I watched
Yeah.
USFL back in the day, and I used to watch the Memphis Showboats. And I used to
Oh,
watch a
remember we were
quarterback
talking
back
about the
then.
Memphis
His name was
Showboats?
Walter
Yeah, there's a
Lewis,
team that
which I just
is sticking
the
around.
guy was
What are
great.
your
And
thoughts on the
remember
Memphis Showboats? I
Reggie White,
I
the
haven't watched
Minister
the
of
Memphis Showboats.
Defense.
Please tell the
He
fans
started his
about them.
career with the Memphis Showboats.
Well, I tell you, Alan, I'm telling you right now, I think they got Case Cookus, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they
So
got
yeah.
Case Cookus. I can't remember. I know last year they had Brady White, but I don't. Case Cookus. Geez, didn't he get it? I can't remember the receivers. It's escaping me right now. But I know Case Cookus is there as quarterback. I know he's there. But I just wanted to show a
Yeah.
little bit from our older one, just to kind of. And I got the old XFL commercials here. I was going to show it. Remember them way back in 2001? I got them. And then the cheerleaders' uniforms. I did a little episode on that because I have a lot of autographs and stuff. So they showed them on 30 for 30 on This Was the XFL. So I kind
Yes, I
of.
did watch that. Hey, you know what? I encourage fans who are spring football watch that documentary because you could see the evolution. But I did want to ask you that: do you think they should have cheerleaders, whether it be the Memphis Showboats or any cheerleaders in this new league?
I think you gotta have cheerleader. I mean, I know it sounds kind of crazy, and I'm not a male chauvinist pig or anything, a sexist, want to see all that stuff. But I think you gotta, they need the income too. I mean, they work hard to get where they got to get. You know what I mean? So if they are, put on a professional uh, football squad and cheering for them, whatever, they make money too there. So. I mean, yeah, I think he should have them, really. Not
Yeah.
so far as what happened back in 2001 with what Vince McMahon did. But you know what I mean? I mean, that was crazy back then at that time. That guy was crazy. I mean, he knew the money. He had money, but there's some things were misguided. The way it went through. But there was some good things. There was some good. Remember the Sky Cam? There was
Yep.
it was just a wrestling thing. I think it was just too many wrestlers involved. But you
He
know,
hate me. I can never forget. He hate me. The
I can
jersey.
never forget. He hate me. No,
He
never
hate.
will forget that.
No matter what, I'll never forget. He hate me.
No, that was cool. He was good too. He was good.
Yeah. Yep.
Trying to think of some of the older stuff. I mean, but 2020. You're looking back at 2020. I loved the Seattle Sea Dragons back then. Jim Zorn was the quarterback back then. I think, and Brandon Silvers was the quarterback at that time. I think. Remember when I watched? I think I watched the Arlington Renegades and the Seattle Dragons. Wasn't the Seattle Sea Dragons at the time? It was the Seattle Dragons, and they had that cauldron they used to light. You remember that when
Yeah.
they had this cauldron they lit? I think just little symbolic things like that, it adds to a football season, and the excitement of a football league. Just lighting that. I think that I can't remember his name now. I'm escaping me, but lit the cauldron, and a lot of people cheered to see the cauldron lit. And then when we got in 2023, and they didn't do stuff like that. And now then they changed their colors of the uniforms, which I thought it was all right. I thought they were pretty cool. The helmets were awesome
Yeah.
on the Seattle Sea Dragons. They were awesome helmets. But the orange, a little bit too much orange. I remember a lot of people saying that about the orange, but this is fun, Alan, going through this stuff. Really, really fun, man. We've talked about quite a bit of stuff here. The
Yeah.
only thing I don't care about is this error. It drives me. I'm like that. I'm like
But
that.
yeah, and I did want the fans to know that I know a lot of fans have asked me, and I know people have reached out to me to see if I am going to cover the UFL. I don't have an answer on that yet, and the reason being because the league has been very quiet. I have not heard back from them. I sent a couple of communications. This is not to be alarmed. This is kind of what I went through with the XFL, so it is up in the air of whether I'm going to cover the UFL or not. I hope so. I really do, and it's to be determined because that was just an incredible experience. You would not expect a guy who covered a team where the team ended up being 1-9 would have such a remarkable experience, but it was phenomenal because not only did I cover the Guardians, I was at the XFL championship game, so it was just a remarkable experience. So I'm seeing it from the media standpoint, the fan standpoint, players. I got to meet a lot of the players, a lot of their family. It's just a remarkable experience.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now with you. Like, I mean, I love everything they've put together so far, but it just seems like they're leaving too much for the YouTube creators and all these guys that do videos. They got to start doing stuff. They got to get into the ESPN studio and do interviews. And I know they're starting to do little things here like that, but you got to, exposure. They got to, I mean, if they want it to succeed, you got to get out there among the fans and the stadiums, sell things at the stadiums, T-shirts and more merchandise. I guess they were talking about, I guess we're going to have new merchandise coming up. Some people back then were talking about how some of the uniforms and the T-shirts and stuff weren't up to par with the USFL ones, which it's kind of crazy. I have some stuff. I have some sweaters and stuff. They seem to be okay with me, but I didn't buy a jersey. That's where some of the people said that they had problems with the jerseys falling apart after a little bit, so they returned them. I mean,
Wow.
it's just kind of little, and it's just little things that they have to look at and change. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. Like if you're gonna have a game Sunday, make sure you get out there and have some promotional people out there, put some posters out. Um, give some free things. I know it's hard to give things with the, budget and way things are today, how high things are, but you got to give to get a little bit. I mean, it's a give and take, push and pull. You know what I mean? If they want
Yeah,
fans there, if they want people to cover the league, they got to make sure they have make it exciting, get people interested.
you're absolutely right. You brought up some very, very, very solid points that the league needs to. You need fan participation. If you have somebody who's interested, you got to strike the iron wires hot. It doesn't mean they're going to stay interested. Even more so now because with the new league, one of the things that I think is undersold a little bit is the fact that the league starts later this year. I mean, I know that that's more accustomed to the USFL side, but I personally like the fact that they started 2 weeks right after the Super Bowl. And the reason why is because you still have some of that fan momentum. People still think about football.
I
Starting
like,
late March, yeah,
yeah,
you have to compete with that.
yeah,
More of a
that's what
break.
I think. Yeah, I like that too, Alan. A couple weeks after the Super Bowl, you got the gasoline from the smoke still hasn't settled yet from the Super Bowl, so you're feeding off them flames, and from a little that energy is still there. When you're starting up, people are still hungry for football; they want to see it. But I mean, it's been on and off for 30 years. They've been on and off with these spring leagues and stuff. I remember when the USFL started, I was a fan. There was a lot of players that came into the USFL when it started back in the 80s. You had Herschel Walker, Jim Kelly, Maurice Carthon, Brian Sipe, Doug Flutie. That's just to name a few. They come through there, and I mean, now it's good. I think, like we were talking, I think they got to promote more. I mean, you got to go to colleges, you know, and give some T-shirts away. Go to colleges and give them incentive to get in there, even if they're not going to make all the money that you would make if they went into the NFL. Give them something to look forward to. If it's not the money, the publicity. Put some sports cards out. Come on, UFL, get some sports cards out there. You know, stuff like that. I mean, you got to promote, man. Promote.
Yeah, I mean, you got a great point there, because you know now you know how this thing works. You have, well, now that The Rock signed those big deals, you'll have some
Yeah,
extra money,
yeah,
to reinvest in the league. But also now you have Fox and the network. But I do believe, this is my own opinion, that this league has to take off, because I don't know if you're going to get another go at this if it doesn't end up being a success. It's just watching it from someone who covered the league, just being fair. This got to go, and you got to strike the iron wires hot. I don't think there's, there's any wiggle room for failure here. You got to make this work.
yeah,
And
yeah,
one last thing about The Rock is, I know he keeps talking about that player 54. I get it. But you own a league now. Like, how many football players own leagues? So put that in perspective. Everybody has their own path. Your path is now owning the UFL. you got to treat it like, hey, I didn't get that player 54 opportunity on the field, but I'm gonna do everything I can off the field to make the UFL work. Start thinking that way, and this league will take off. Which is what I wanted to ask you: is this? Do you think of all the years that you've watched the UFL? I'm sorry, the XFL, USFL. Do you feel this year, this opportunity is the best that you've seen?
This has got everything going for it. You got both leagues under one little roof, one umbrella. They put all their strength, all their everything all in one thing. If they don't do it this year, I can't see them splintering and going off and being separate entities anymore. They're in this together, or they're either going to go down together or they're going to succeed. The only way they're going to succeed is if they work together. And like you said, with The Rock being an owner, there's a lot of different things he could do, which I don't want to say too much because I know, he might be watching, and maybe someday, I don't know. But if he's watching, the only thing I would have to say is just promote more, get on, a TV show and mention the UFL, mention some of the younger players that want to come out of college and go into the UFL. Give them an incentive to want to go in that UFL. It's the United Football League. You guys are together. I don't hear too much of Daryl Johnson. They should get Daryl Johnston, Russ Brandon, Redbird Capital, Danny Garcia, get them all on one stage and let people see them together and talk about the league. I haven't seen that yet, and they got to be together, otherwise, I don't know, it's going to make it.
Yep, as the great Abraham Lincoln said, "United we stand, divided we fall." So
exactly, yep, that's where we're at right now. United we stand, divided we fall, and that's where it's at right now. They either make it, or I think this is going to be the end of spring. I don't know if it'll be the end of spring football because you got AFL and all that stuff, but as outside NFL like type league, with stadiums and with the rules being similar and stuff like that. I mean, I think this is almost like a swan song, really,
Yeah.
But I feel sorry I was watching YouTube, I don't know how some of these guys can talk as much as they do, but some of these YouTube creators who cover the league, and they go and go and go. They have stats and they have this. I know I watch and I know some of the stats and some of the players and this and that, but to talk for hours and have 5 episodes a day, and there's the guys, The Rock, and them guys should be thinking. Them guys should be, thanking them creators, man. They're out there, promoting the UFL and almost every day. Sometimes some of them 4 and 5 videos a day. So it's outrageous exposure for the league. They got to expose them guys, promote them guys a little bit too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the content creators and guys, the USFL and the XFL, shout out to the content creators and guys, and definitely the season ticket holders, the fans, the players, the coaches, because they make this league, and that's the thing. It's remarkable, and how many players and family members reached out to me and season ticket holders. Hey, do you know this? Can you ask this? And it's just like a really family niche to it. And you're right. The content creators, if it wasn't for them, right now, you would just hear crickets. You would hear crickets.
Yeah,
you would literally hear crickets. So I want to reiterate that to the UFL. And if The Rock is listening, I am not hiding anything. They are keeping the UFL, the XFL, and the USFL relevant, because right now from the league, you would hear crickets. That's just a fact. That's one of the reasons why I don't go on. I'm glad you brought that up, Kurt, because that's one of the reasons why I don't just turn on and just rant about stuff on the league. If it's not fact-based, I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, not knocking them, but I need to see some facts. I'm not just going to circulate rumors all day long. I'm not doing that.
Something solid, solid, meaningful, something not from somebody, he said, she said, this one said, that one said. That's not, it's something you can't hold on to. You don't know if it's true, real, or whatever, but it's that's what this league drove me nuts before we started getting these something from the league, in The Rock, and they announced it. But I mean, it was driving me nuts. I didn't know what was happening, whether it was going to just shut down or what was going to happen, because when you and I last talked about it, we didn't know how many teams were going to be there. We didn't know if the XFL was going to be there or gone. We didn't know what was going to happen, what the name of the league. We knew it was changing, but we didn't know what the name of the league was going to be. I mean, it was just up in the air there for months and months and months. Finally, we got a little information, but now I think everybody's still waiting. We're still waiting to hear something from them. You know what I mean?
The schedules is what that's one of the things that I did hear. A lot of the fans want to know the schedule. That was probably number one, more than anything. Hey, what is the schedule going to look like, so people can start preparing? That just goes to show you that people are interested in spring football. I mean, time will tell if this is going to work or not. I hope it does, because I really love the fact that there's an opportunity that players have. There are some remarkable players out there that do not get that opportunity. I mean, his story is correct. There is, 53 players on a roster. You're number 54. Unfortunately, you don't get to play. That's in the NFL, that is. But it doesn't mean that number 54 and beyond can't play in the league. There's so many spots, so many roster spots. You can't have everybody play in the league. And I've met some players that really are outstanding. But that's the great thing about spring football. It is giving somebody an opportunity to get on the league. And to your point, Kurt, one more thing is that there's the new IFA, and there's other competitors that are still trying to get in there.
Right.
UFL got to differentiate themselves.
Yep. And then there's this little tweet thing, little thing that's eked its way out. Cincinnati Bengal. You remember Chad Johnson?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A little bit of information slipped out there through what was the coach Filippo there of the showboats. He said, "Well, come on down." And Chad Johnson said, "I'll lace up my sneakers and play for you." I mean, similar to something to that effect. Well, so that's out there, and I was kind of like interested in it, so I started listening about it and stuff. Who knows if he will play for the league or not? I don't know if it's just something for publicity or something they let slip out there or what. But there's so many little things like that, that from Twitter, X, or whatever you call it. Twitter, X, is it X or Twitter now?
X. It's X. But yeah, I do think Chad Johnson, I think Terrell Owens, I think those guys could play in this league, and they would contribute, and that would make it, even more fascinating. But yeah, that's the great thing about football. There's not a shyness or limit of talent. There's some great players out there, and I was just really blessed to cover them. But when you even hear their backgrounds, I'm glad the league is going to give them a little bit more money, because there's bills to pay that they have to pay too. You have a lot of downtime too that you're waiting to get up to go. So it's nice that they get compensated that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of it might not be paid, but there is a lot of, like we said, about publicity, promotion. If they get their face on the news or on ESPN, it might make you feel better, about playing for the league. Even though you're not going to get millions and millions of dollars, you're going to get your face. People will see you, and you contribute to the team and everything. So, I mean, it's just things like that. It just drives you crazy. I wish I could see, like we were just saying, I wish we could see everybody all on one stage, all the ownership of the UFL all on one stage, talk about what's going to happen in the future, what we're planning, what our plans are, and things like that. It would make you feel better that they have a plan. You know what I mean? They have some kind of a plan there. It's almost making me think that we're on a wing and a prayer type thing, and I'm just, you want to go to the shop, you want to buy unis, and you want to buy t-shirts, and you want to buy mugs, but is the stuff going to be there next year? I mean, that you want it to be there. I still have my Vegas Vipers stuff, upstairs and stuff. I get it out and stuff once in a while, but I have no idea if they're going to be back. Like the Orlando Guardians, we don't know if they're going to be back. I mean, I know they're on pause, but are they going to be back, or are they just going to leave us hanging without a team? You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I hope
Well, I
not.
mean, now I hope not. You got the Fox, and now that the Rock's got those deals, hey, you got some more opportunities there with the fan support. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I think if you did lose a team, if you still have the heart to continue to support the league, the UFL now, your team might come back. I mean, there might be an opportunity. So support, and that's one of the things that I'm glad you said, because as a person who just promoted the heck out of the XFL, the Orlando Guardians, I will tell you, I have no regrets. You got to make sure you support your team or this league, because you never know. Nothing is promised tomorrow, to your point. So you better give it all and see what happens.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, it just, and there's a lot of, we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people out there hesitant to put their money in it. You know what I mean? Go to a game. If they do it right, like I said, they got till March 30th to advertise, get stuff out there so they can let people know that it's a solid thing, that it's going to be there next year, and it's not going to be just gone the next day, next year.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing I think people want to know is, or feel that, hey, if I invest my not just money, I think more than anything with people is their emotional, you know, baggage into this. Am I going to get crushed that you're going to be gone in the next season, or change things again? I think people need to feel that this is a viable product that's going to stick around.
Yeah, and then you got to look at the players that we lost when we dropped from team, uh,
Yeah.
16 teams to 8. All them players had to find jobs and coaches and all that stuff. So I mean, that was a lot of players there, a lot of coaches and assistant coaches and all that stuff lost their jobs. So I mean, that's not a good thing, but it happened. I mean, I think they want longevity. They want to shrink it down to the 8 teams, condense talent, condense the money that will come back into the league, which you only have 8 teams. So you're going to have a lot more money that, coming in. You should have, and
Yeah.
you're not playing people millions and millions of dollars. You're only playing a few thousand to play. Uh, so it just comes down to promotion and letting football cards. You know what I mean? Get some sports cards out there.
Okay, that's cool.
Programs,
See,
sell things at have photos at the games and stuff. Have the teams signing photos and stuff like that, meeting the fans, and you know all that stuff like that matters. You know what I mean?
you know what? The Rock needs to take some of that, those big deals, and cut some of it and give you a part of it for the marketing, because you got some great ideas, Ed, this is what you need to do to promote, to get things out there. Those football cards. I think players will love that. They have their own football cards, and get them to
Yeah,
sign it too. A little,
yeah,
if you show up early enough or show up to an event, I think that's awesome. And you're absolutely right. I think you need to start promoting. I don't know if there's a conflict with the NFL and Fox, and because of the fact that the Super Bowl is coming up and it's not over yet. But yeah, you can do some things behind. You don't have to put it on Fox. You can do some things, and but yeah, you would like to see a little bit more, not just from the content creators, props to them, but from the league itself, and just
yeah,
putting out, this player got signed and this player got signed is good. That's great, but I think people want to know more about the league too.
yeah. I mean, we know the players that are coming in. We know that, but you want to know what they're coming into. You know what I mean? What is this league going to be here next year? And I'm excited about it, but I want it to be here next year. I want to watch it next year too. In the year before, on and on and on. So, it's a lot of still question marks out there. Some of them are disappearing. You know, we're knowing little things here and there, but hopefully next year the draft will be different than the way they did this dispersal draft. I know they had to do it and disperse the players around the league, but hopefully they have an official draft. You know what I mean? Next year, like an actual league draft, you know, would be really cool. And like I said, get everybody who owns the UFL all on one stage in ESPN. Promote the heck out of it. You know, mention players have an MVP of the month or something player, you know, and promote the guy, you know, say, look at this guy did this, and that. He's MVP of the UFL, and we're going to give him a little bonus, or we're going to do a show, or we're going to have something to, you know, promote the player a little. It doesn't have to be money. It can be just getting their name out there, you know, stuff like that, you know, mention a player, you know, on ESPN. ESPN goes a long ways. A lot of people watch ESPN. And if they know about the UFL, know how good their players are, and know who these guys are, they'll follow them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, from a guy who covered one of the team, they got some great talent. And now that there's less opportunities, I would definitely assume there's going to be even better talent because, you know, there's very little wiggle room that you have now with there only being 8 teams.
Yeah,
And
you're
yeah,
gonna have a lot of. I mean, the rosters are gonna be loaded, and they're gonna have to let some guys go. Even there's
yeah.
just so many players coming through. Um,
But February 8th, they have that event that I did see in Texas, I believe, with they're gonna have that little they're gonna do a little Q&A, which is good. At least that's a great start.
yeah, that is a good thing. We got to do more of that stuff like that. You know what I mean? We got to do more of it at the stadiums before the game even starts. Have, you know, like pass and punt things for teenagers from school and the little guys, you know, from school. Have punt and pass and kick things in the stadium at halftime. If you're going to have a halftime, especially in the playoffs, have a big singer come sing the national anthem. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
have a
you know
big
what?
name sing the national anthem in your playoffs and stuff like that. You know, I mean, come on. And I thought this year they would actually, since they have the Canton, they've been playing in Canton, Ohio and stuff like they have in their big games there. You'd think they would have a Canton, Ohio team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, you know. And I gotta apologize to some of the fans because the fact that I didn't really keep up too much with the draft because I don't know if I'm covering the league or not. They haven't gotten back to me. I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
they want me to cover the league. That's another thing too. You got to look at my report. You know, if you don't respond to people's inquiries, it puts them in limbo. So I don't know if you're trying to tell me you don't want me to cover it, you too busy. I don't know. So I can't really get wrapped up into that. You may not want me to cover it, so I don't know. You know,
yeah, I know. So
so yeah, so I didn't keep up too much with the Dispersal League. You know, props to the guys who got selected. I know those 4 guys from the Orlando Guardians because you know we became friends. You know, that'd be Quentin Dormany, Devin Darrington, you know, Savion Patton, and I'm forgetting someone. I'm sorry, Savion Patton.
I did that
Yeah,
too. I'm trying to remember so
yeah.
many names. I mean, there's so many
But
names
yes,
there.
Savion. We have Savion, Quentin Dormany, Devin Darrington, and there was another
Cody,
player from the Guardians.
Cody Latimer.
Cody. I can't forget Cody Latimer. So yes, that's the thing. I know those 4 players because I covered them with the Guardians, but I didn't really keep up much with the Dispersal League because I don't know if I'm covering the league or not. And I know people keep asking me that. I have no answer for you. I will reach out again this week, coming up week with the league, and see what they say. It'll be the 3rd communication. Hopefully, I get a response, but I don't know if they want me to cover the league or not. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's where it leaves you. You're like in the middle. I mean, you're sitting there going, how do I do this? I mean, the league has not got back to me. I don't know how do you cover a league when they are not talking with you, you know?
Yeah,
So you don't, you know, so you can't just go out there and blurt out anything you want to blurt out because you don't hear from the league. I
yeah,
think that's a
and
lot of people's weird. It's a strange thing. They got to get that stuff worked out, though. You know what I mean? To be a
Yeah,
viable sports football league, you got to get that stuff worked out.
they do. They do. They that is something they do, and yeah, it is a little shocking and quite frankly, kind of a little disappointing. I've interviewed Russ Brandon. They've met me, they know me, the media contacts know me, the fans and players know me. I just don't know. I'm curious to know, are there conflicts per se between the UFL, USFL, and the XFL? When you sit down and you talk and make these decisions, is there no resolutions that come to play? That's the reason why a lot of the things are kept quiet. If it is, I can understand it, but there's got to be something going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and you got, well, the USFL side has a union. The
mhm.
XFL, I'm not sure if they've worked out the union. If they have a union now on the XFL side, and this is what's weird because you're going the USFL side, the XFL side. It's all one. It's You're trying to put that in your head that it's just one league now. You're united, the UFL, and they got to get that together, the togetherness. If they're going to be one league, you got to have union all the way around, not union just on this side and non-union. That don't sound right. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of
Yeah,
weird. I mean,
yeah.
and make sure you
And my
take care
goal
of
was,
your players. They're going to want to retire at some point, and some of these guys who are going to retire here in the next couple of years or whatever, they're going to want to know, are they going to be able to get a retirement from the UFL? I don't know how that's working, how they're working that out. I don't know.
yeah, that's a very good point. How the players union is going to work itself out, the benefits they get, and how much can the fans even see during training camp? Are you allowed to come by and see it, or is it just media only? There's a lot of questions that even I have, and time will tell. Time will tell. Is that a reason why they're kind of keeping things quiet because the NFL is still in force? Because that could be a conflict of interest there. They don't want to promote something that's coming up when you have something current. I don't know if that's a factor. It could be. But yeah, I mean, my motivation is to have the players, the coaches, to give them as much opportunity to stick around. I am definitely a person who sides more with the fans, the coaches, players. I want spring football to survive. And if anything I could do to help, especially using my platform, I will do that. But it has to be any relationship, as you mentioned, has to be two ways. It can't be just me wanting to help you and you're not reciprocating.
Right. That's the way I feel about it too, Alan. Well, I got a couple videos, Alan, to show. A
Oh,
couple
okay.
ones
Yeah.
from the past. I don't know if you're going to dig it or not, but let's get her up
Yeah.
there. And I'm going to be playing the old 2001 XFL commercials starring the great Big Buckus. This 2001, Alan.
Wow.
A weekend warrior. These men don't play for money. They don't play for glory. They play for the love of the game.
No, we don't. We do it for them.
Well then, if you're trying to impress an XFL cheerleader,
What do you
I
think about
suggest
that
you
one?
huddle up with
Alan,
Stacker 2.
get off of the wall.
Stacker 2 is the safe, smart way to burn fat and get an extra boost of energy. Stacker 2, the most valuable fat burner.
Wait a minute, I got one more. Now these remember were in 30 for 30, and this was the XFL. Pretty skimpy uniforms.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that. But I just wanted to show them. Enough
No
of that
problem.
stuff.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see. It really is. I'm curious to see. I'm excited for the UFL. I want them to stick around and make it. I'm passionate and hopeful they will. I don't want to see anybody, lose another opportunity. It's already, opportunity being lost. We don't need it to be all gone. Definitely they got to make it work this year. They have to make it work.
Yep, this is almost like we said, a swan song. If they don't do it this time, I don't know what's going to happen after this. Where do they go from here? Change the name again, or
No,
what?
I don't think so. I mean, as you mentioned, The Rock got those deals. He's got the Fox network. Has to make this work because I know I've been in corporate America business for a while. You get so many opportunities, so many chances. If it doesn't work, they just scrap it. Is what happens.
Yep. All right, Alan, what are you thinking? You want to call it a day?
Yeah, I definitely looking forward to doing this some more with you. Hopefully, in the next week, I'll have more updates. I am gonna reach out to league one more time. I'm gonna throw that Hail Mary pass, and
There you
hopefully
go.
it catches. They catch that Hail Mary pass. But if they drop the ball, and there's nothing else for me to do at that point. It's like we're combining football and baseball. 3 strikes, you're out. That was,
Yep. Yep.
But I'm gonna
All
throw the
right,
Hail Mary
then.
pass, and we'll go and see what happens.
Me too, Alan. I'll be listening to information, see what I can get up for next week. And next week when I do create the live stream, I'll make sure you're co-host on there, so we can get you in there.
No problem.
But I cannot believe, I had all this set up. I sat here and it took me hours to get everything, the videos and fiddle, and it still came up with an error. And I have no idea how the heck that happened. That irritated me. But anyway, Alan, we'll
Right.
call it a day. We've been on here a little bit over an hour, and I'm so
Yep.
glad, Alan, you came on, man. Thank you. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
I
Thank you for having me. I
enjoy.
appreciate it.
Yes, I enjoy talking to you. You're a pleasure to speak with, and I love it, man. I have a good time when we get down here and talk. So I'm looking forward to next week, and hopefully you'll be my co-host next week, and we'll have more information. Maybe we'll find out more about the league, what's happening. All right, I'm going to end this.
Bert.
All right, buddy. I love you, man. I'll see you next week.
Love you too. Looking
I hope I
forward
don't
to
get I hope I don't get any errors next week.
it. You
I'm
got
telling
it. Me too.
All right,
Take
buddy.
care. Take it easy now. Enjoy your day.
Yep.
Bye for now.